Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, some Green Island Ficus work. So the first tree I'm going to work on today is the Green Island Ficus that is in the long rectangle pot. I have pruned the Green Island Ficus a couple of times, most recently just a few weeks ago, and we're pushing all kinds of new growth, super healthy. We are at the 22nd of August and we have plenty of time for this to recover, do a little growing before we get out or put it back into the plant room. So we're going to go ahead and take it out of this pot, take a look at the root system, and we're going to put it right back into the same pot. Still plenty of room to grow in this pot. I do like the color of this pot with this tree. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take care of just looking at the roots, maybe do some root pruning, a couple of trims on the tree again, and then let it finish out the summer. So let's go ahead and dig into the tree and see what kind of roots we have to work with. This tree is wired in, so we're going to go ahead and cut the wire and go ahead and see if we can pull it on out carefully. A little resistance on a couple of the sides. Here's the wire that popped up. So there we go. Got the drainage screen still in there. We're going to wash out this pot and get that ready. Now I did water this tree this morning, so it is going to be full of moisture. But I know it's in a really good, pretty thick bonsai soil. The akadama is probably the most broken down. And so we'll just peel off and take a peek. I'm guessing that my record keeping was a little off. This was not repotted 2.5 years ago, for my assumption would be that I would have a whole bunch of new roots on here. This is pretty sparse if it's been 2.5 years. So time to update the record keeping on this Green Island Ficus. I might have repotted this earlier in the year. I should go back and look at my footage just to double check. So there's the importance of record keeping for you right there. This tree was not in really dire need for repotting, but what I was concerned about is sometimes when I watered this tree, it seemed like the water wasn't percolating through as fast as my other pots. So I wondered how thick it was, and I should have taken my instrument here, my little root rake, chopstick, and I should have gone down into the soil and peeked for massive roots, and I would have found that there wasn't massive roots for anything close to root bound. But we get a chance to see the roots. We get to prune off some of these real long ones, and we'll just put it back in the pot. I'm going to use some recycled soil that we're going to sift out here in a moment and put a little bit of the original soil back in as well. Kind of put those two together and we'll see how this does. So we'll go ahead and do a little root pruning here. We're just going to get off these extra big chunky ones here. Long ones, I should say. And move those aside. And as we're always looking for that 360-degree radial root pattern, we're going to try to rake these out and see what we've got going here. So, not horrible, not great. We have one big one back here that's starting to grow up, so we're going to go ahead and cut this one this way so it can maybe grow down and spread out. We have another bigger one over here that spreads out this way. One that's growing straight up there. So all of these can be tucked down. I'm not going to cut any more roots off. We're going to leave that right there for our planting. So let's get our pot ready. I gave the pot a good old wash in the pond, showing off that real nice vibrant blue color. It's looking really nice. Let's sift out some soil real quick. We'll mix some of the old and the new and get it in the pot. So I've got my tub here, and I've got a little bit of the recycled soil right here. And what I'm trying to do is get rid of all the fine particles. This is a little bit wet from watering, so some of the fine particles will not fall out. So there we have it. We're able to sift out some of the old roots that were in here, and we've got most of the bigger chunks of soil. Now again, there are some smaller chunks on here, so what I can do is I can spray this off with the hose or go dunk it in the pond, and we'll get rid of some of those finer particles as well. So I dunked it into the pond, and you can see it's all spread out real nice. We got rid of most of the fine particles, showcased a few more roots that we could pluck out of here. And so this is some recycled soil that I'm putting with some other soil. We're going to put them together. So we'll put this aside for a moment and get ready to sift some of the fine particles of this out. So now I've got some of the old and the stuff that came from the tree for a little bit of recycling and keeping some of that good healthy bacteria. Now I have enough, I believe, for the 2 repots of my Green Island Ficuses. So the tree was placed over here before, a little bit further on the left. I don't want it dead center. There is more branches going this way right now, which creates a little bit more negative space over here. So I still think I'm going to keep it a little off to the left here. So I got my base layer of soil on there. We've got the tree. And it looks like it's going to sit there real nice. The root structure was really flat, so I'm not going to have to worry about tamping down this soil too much. And these are a little bit bigger soil particles. And now if a big gust of wind came on this tree right now, it might just topple over. So we're going to go ahead and find a couple of rocks to keep on here right now and secure that tree. Also may hold in a little bit some of that moisture a little longer as well. So I found some rocks. Go ahead and put that right there, there and there. And we have some security for the tree. Let's give it a fresh water. lift up the pot and shake out the water. It's pretty clean running through there because I've sifted this now twice. I sifted the dry soil before I started the repot, and then I re-sifted and washed the recycled soil from this very pot, and then we sifted one more time to get our soil. So everything's pretty clean of the dust, and we are set to go. So this tree is not going to look much different on a before and after shot, but we have some fresh new soil mixed in with some of the older soil, and we're going to now document this on the phone. So I'm going to get my phone out and pull out my Bonsai app, and we're going to put down that it was repotted in August of 2021, so I have accurate data moving forward. We're going to take a peek at this tree and see if we want to do any pruning right now one last time before this gets ready for the fall storage in the plant room. It has lots of growth from earlier. I don't want to be too aggressive because I recently did prune it, but we've got a lot of nice growth. We've got a good inch plus of growth on all of these tips from when we last cut this thing back. So we know it's growing well, in good shape. These two back here are kind of forcing up against each other, so I kind of want to cut this one back to this leaf down here. We got an outside facing bud right there, so we'll see what that does. Just that little bit of cut right there. We got a nice split down here of these two branches here and here, and then there's one growing up that way too, so I'm going to cut this one off. Cut this big leaf off and this big leaf off. And I think we can cut it off right here. And we get this nice movement here. It goes up and over this way. I'll cut this little tiny leaf off. So yeah, then we'll have some movement here in this branch now. There's a little one trying to grow down here. We'll just cut that off. We'll cut this inside little tiny one off. I'm going to cut this big leaf off right there just because it's in the way right now. I don't mind this branch right here for some thickness. We'll let it do its thing. We'll cut off this big one. We'll cut off that big one. Cut off that inside facing one. So just cutting some big leaves off to kind of see the structure of the tree. I think we can cut this one down to here. Cut this back one off a little bit. Back there, cut this one down again. I'll go one step further. I think we're gonna go one step further. And again, with these ficus, a lot of leaves that grow right underneath the stem. We don't need those extra leaves. I'll cut those again to promote more balanced growth for the rest of the summer. There's one doing that right here. I have a couple of bitty, looks like possibly scale growth of this tree, or it's a bud. I can't tell. No, it looks like it's buds. Yeah, these are strong buds, so that's good. Almost looks like a scale right here. Little guys right there, but they are buds. They're looking good. Why we get really close up and personal with our trees. I think we'll leave it there. I don't want to do a major cutting because I said I did this before. We will cut this one here because there's 3 growing from one spot. One more tip here, one more tip there. And we're just going to leave it that way for the rest of the summer here. So our really main focus was to repot this guy. We've got some fun growth going on this guy right here. All this curve, this is new growth since I pruned right here and here. Cut that top one off, making lots of movement in this tree, which is super fun. Yeah, we're just going to leave it at that. A super simple, small job. Repotting was the main idea, and what I learned from this, of course, is that I'm still not keeping good records of my repots on all my trees. So we're going to put this in the phone and make sure we're ready for a good repot in a couple years, not just a few months, if that's what I did here accidentally. Green Island Ficus. So my second ficus for today is a cutting that I took recently and put into this pot in the last year. And it's growing really well this summer. So it's puffed out real nice. I got some lower growth down below. We're gonna get this into a bonsai pot. I've got another blue pot that's very similar in color to this one. Similar tree, similar pot color, and we're gonna go ahead and put this into this pot for right now. So this will be basically a slip, kind of a slip pot repotting. We're not gonna do a whole lot of fancy stuff to it. We'll see how the root structure is looking. So, and we're gonna get a couple drains in there and get to town. So I've got a drain screen at the bottom of that pot there. Gonna go ahead and get a layer of soil in there. This is a little bit bigger soil that we'll put at the bottom layer for more drainage. And then the recycled stuff that's a little bit finer, I'll put in the next level. So let's put this aside here and let's see what we got. It's sticking to the bottom of the pot, which is good. That means my root structure is actually growing, I think. All right. So this also is on the benches today, so got a fresh watering. But I see some of the roots in here are dry. So even though I watered today, some of the roots are dry, which tells me I didn't do a fantastic job on this part of my benches to make sure the water was soaking through. Another good thing to do when you're repotting a bonsai tree, there's nothing like being able to water your trees in the morning and then repot that tree later on that day, whether it's a few minutes, few hours, half a day, and you can see how dry it is after that length of time. So there was some dry roots in here. Now I just raked all the roots together and got them all kind of wet together. But that was pretty dry in some spots. So we'll set this soil aside. Okay, we're ready to go. We are just gonna make a few clips here. We've got some long dangly roots here on this side. Cut some of those off. Just a little bit of light root pruning. We want this to be a nice flat 360. Looks like we got some longer ones over here. Cut some of those out, a little bit shorter, to make sure that our roots are balanced. And that'll sit in the pot pretty well. Very nice. Now I have a bit of growth right there, so I'm gonna be careful not to break that off. And we're gonna get our soil in here. This is from our recently sifted. This was the smaller particles that came through on the sift I did for the other Green Island. And there we go. Now this one shouldn't move, but we are gonna put a couple rocks in here just in case. It's down there pretty good and the roots are flat, but it's light. Now I didn't really pay much attention to where I was putting in this pot. It's a very young bonsai, pre-bonsai if you will, and I'm not too worried about position this early on. I'm gonna see if this branch grows and maybe we keep it, maybe we don't. I can put it at just a little bit of an angle so we're not going straight up and down. Let me get some rocks. Found a couple of nice rocks from the North Shore of Minnesota. Got some extra color to there. They get turned kind of red. when you get them wet, a little more of a red color. All my holes are plugged up in my watering device here. There we go. Let me lift this up. We got some clear water draining through. And there we have the Green Island Ficus number 2. And let's see if we're going to cut anything off this guy right here. Because we do have this summer push here. So I have the main trunk right up here and this nice branch over here and one that's coming off to the side here. I'll get rid of that leaf. And that leaf. I like the division because this could be a primary branch, this could be a primary branch to a bigger tree, and this becomes the leader apex still. I'm not going to cut anything off except for leaves. So I'll cut this big one off. Cut this big one off over here. And this one's kind of going down. We'll just kind of let those see where they're going to go next. Get this one right there. That one right there. And one more big one. So again, I didn't pick a front to this tree. We just put it in this pot to get it growing for the next couple years. We'll figure out fronts later on. So as we circle around this tree, cut off a few big leaves and we'll see where everything goes. We'll cut this downward facing one off now and we'll put this back on the benches as well. My update for today is one that I haven't shown in a long time and quite a contrast compared to the Green Island Ficuses. So there are a few trees that I've put into pots that are from the backyard, and one of them is the lilac bushes. Now I had a small lilac bush that didn't do so well. It passed in the last year. It's no longer with me. But I did a whole bunch of carving on a big clump of lilacs that several years ago I took out of the ground to make room for my benches. I just threw them in the back underneath the big Colorado blue spruce, and I didn't even put them in the ground. I just laid them back there, and they started, the roots were growing and the leaves were growing, and I said, you know, let's try to make that into a bonsai. Even though the leaves are bigger on this variety of lilac, it's not a Little Miss Kim or a Japanese variety of any sort, but it was good old material, you know, a home Yamadori. Urban Yamadori, right? And so I did some carving. We made this look like there was some damage on here. And one of the things that happens with the lilac, I've noticed, with all the watering of my bonsai trees, if I'm watering my bonsai tree and a lot of water gets on the leaves of the lilac tree, at least the big, your average nursery style lilac with the bigger flowers, not the littler varieties, the leaves seem to get moldy very quickly. It's one of the fastest trees to get mold if you're watering the leaves. So it's one of those trees that I try to water from the trunk down as much as possible. So this one, the critters got to it a little bit this spring, so I lost some of the new branches, but I'm getting some new growth. So this one survived. This one survived, and it's got a couple of split down here now. And then back here, this one was chewed a little bit. This one has survived pretty well in this one, and there's a new one back here that grew this year. So what I did with this tree though, and let me get a close-up now of the leaves up here. It's kind of mixed up with my plants back here, but let's get a close-up and see if I can show you what happens up here. So as I move some of these out of the way, hopefully it'll be able to give you a better view of the foliage of this tree. So because of some of the damage to some of the leaves, these lilacs seem to kind of go, if trees go dormant in the summertime, the lilac seems to be a candidate that does that, and it just kind of sits there for a while. They do grow profusely though, so they will grow and continue to grow. I get suckers on this all the time. So up here at the top, I went ahead and defoliated everything on this tree, except for those 3 leaves. So I guess it's a partial defoliation. And I was a little nervous at first because, you know, every time you defoliate something, certain times of the year, you're always wondering, is it going to come back? What's going to happen? Well, again, the lilacs are such amazing growers and have so much vigor that this is only about 2 weeks later. I don't even think it's that long. I didn't record the date because I didn't know if I was going to be doing an update on the show, but I thought it'd be nice to show. So this is all growth in the last week or two. All these little shoots are coming out. They're budding out in all these areas. These 3 original leaves are still there, still looking a little dry, and a little bit of discoloration on this one, just a little bit of black dark marks on there. There's even a little tiny bud on this one down here. There's one back here, and a couple of little buds in this direction too. So all of this is gonna get these new leaves, and they will be smaller than the normal time of year when they're full grown from the spring. So I'll have this nice little tree for this year, and then now this will be ready to set buds for next year, because we still got the rest of August, we've got all of September, and so this is going to hopefully set up real nice for some shooting out in the spring. And we'll get some more buds, probably even within these what looks to be dead sections, because we're getting growth repeatedly all over this thing throughout the year. A couple of shoots down low. There's some new buds right there, new buds right here that are super tiny, one back here that it's hard to see on the camera, all the ones up here. And if you even look at the bottom of the pot, there's a couple back here you can't see, but there's 1, 2, 3 shoots right there, 4 down here. There's this one right in the middle of these 2, it's growing. There's a shoot right here growing, shoot back here, and a couple back off to the side here. So these will continue to shoot new growth out. And so it's super hard to kill these lilac. So it's been a good one to experiment on. So right now, completely clip and grow. We're getting some division in this tree. There's a bud point right here, a bud point right here, bud point right here and here. So I can cut all this back off this fall if I wanted to, and I'll get all these buds to grow. So we'll see how they swell this fall, and I may be able to cut these down another couple of inches, and we'll have a whole new tree for the spring. I just have to make sure now that I protect this one because something got to it again, and I'm assuming it's the voles. Possibly the voles or the red squirrels. I'm thinking voles. I have some voles in my garden that I've seen. Not the mice. I'm not seeing mice. So there's the update for today. It's the lilac. This is about a 30-year-old lilac stump. And I've got another one in the works we'll be showing in a future episode. But this one's been out of the ground now for 4 years, maybe 3 years, in this pot for 2. And all this kind of damage. We got some nice bark here, textured bark that's doing pretty well. So if I can get this to be the new leader, cut this one back, or this could be the new leader and I cut it down here, we'll see what this will look like in 5 to 10 years. And I have yet to see purple flowers on here for the beautiful aroma. I'm hoping 2022 is the year for the first buds on this tree. But of course, when you cut back so much like we do in bonsai, sometimes that I know on the lilacs in the ground, the year you cut back, we cut back last fall, we had hardly any buds this year, but it'll bud like crazy next year. So if I keep cutting this back, I'm not going to see a lot of bud action. So if I want to see some buds, I should let it go an entire year and then let the buds come out and then cut it after the spring growth hardens off. So there's a lilac, the lilac update. You can go back probably a couple of years. I'll make sure the episode is in this episode or in the description, the link, and you can see how this all came together. Put all my cuttings back in order, and that wraps up another episode. Hey, thanks for watching. Can't wait to see what that lilac does. Can't wait to see how these Green Island Ficus do with their newly repot. And now that I have it updated correctly in the iPhone app, we won't repot those too soon. Gotta be careful, gotta take your time, gotta write this stuff down. It's gonna help you in the long run. Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, click like, tell everybody about the channel, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you very soon.